Welcome back to the Strategic Small Business Education virtual event. I am your host, Tyler Foley, and it brings me great pleasure and joy to introduce our next speaker. I've had the privilege of speaking with him on stage. He is a brilliant strategist. I enjoy him. He's known as an international business consultant specializing in U.S. Hispanic marketing, strategic planning, profit and loss analysis, and sales and marketing. He is the executive director at the United States-Mexico Chamber of Commerce and is often referred to as the father of Latinization marketing and customer service concept at Continental Airlines. Today, he's going to be presenting on how to protect your company from cyber attacks. So please join me in welcoming my good friend, Pete Garcia. Pete, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have you on with us.
Tyler, thank you very much, and so happy to be collaborating with you folks. You know, it's so important that small businesses get as much help as they need, particularly in these times. You know, we're going through a crisis that we've never seen before, and really small businesses really don't have a lot of resources that they can go out and get. So I think these seminars are really important and very valuable for small businesses and medium-sized businesses. So what I wanted to talk about today is the act of doing business online, which is where everybody's doing it these days. These Zooms, for example, are kind of the new way of holding meetings. But just like we learned with the initial stage of Zoom, people were coming on and they were hacking them. They were posting pictures that were not appropriate. They were saying things that were not appropriate. And Zoom took a big hit financially for that mistake. Their security was not up to par. Now, this is a big multi-billion-dollar corporation. I know, I just bought some of their stock. It's going at $240 right now. So, because I think it's going to go up. I think more people are going to look for programs like this to be able to communicate with their customers. But doing business online has a huge risk. With the pandemic, what we have seen with cyber hacking is that it is at full throttle right now. It is growing leaps and bounds like never before. You're probably getting emails right now at your company saying, you know, here are things to look for. Here's some of the tactics. And it's not just on your computer. It's also right here, what they call smishing. There's phishing and there's smishing, and there's all sorts of ways that people are getting into companies. You know, I'm going to give you an example. You know, Target, just a few months ago, actually I think it was mid-2019, they were attacked. How did the cyber hackers get in? Guess. Through the air conditioning system. Now, many people will say, now how does that work? Well, your air conditioning, even in your home, is run by a little computer, and somebody manages that. Imagine this. They have to control the air conditioning and heating for the whole building. So somebody is monitoring the temperature settings, humidity settings, etc., from a computer. So the hackers went in through the chips that were on the heating system and cooling system and got into the mainframe to the computer, to their mainframe of their computers, and were able to download thousands and thousands of people's personal identity, credit card information. Today, it's not that hard. You can go onto the dark web, which there are 3 different levels of internet. One, what we mainly use, and then there are different ones, secret ones, that if you know how to get in, and there are many people that do, you can start looking for, you know, conspiracy theories. And then there's another one called the dark web. That's where you can buy drugs, illegal drugs. You can buy fentanyl, cocaine. You can buy guns. You can buy pornography. You can buy anything. And guess what else? you can also buy a program to teach you how to hack. You know, today we are more connected than we have ever been, and tomorrow we're going to be even more connected. All of this brings a lot of insecurity. I know a lot of you probably have something that looks for malware on your computer, but how many of you have it on your phone? How many use a private VPN? Well, there are many of them. And, for example, I use CyberGhost. And what that does is that protects my PC from potential hackers. It'll identify them just like that. If I didn't have a private VPN, I would be completely open. Yes, Microsoft, Windows, Apple, they have some security built in coming in, not just the computer. And you need to look very carefully at what's being sent to you. Now, when you were in the office, your company paid for lots of money for security on their computer systems. But guess what? Now, people are working from home on their personal, non-company issued laptops. The risks are even greater today. So what do you do? How do you protect yourself? And I don't have to tell you, these big companies, Facebook, billions of people's identity was stolen. And you may think it's just your credit card. It's no longer just your credit card. The hackers want what's called your digital DNA. Everything from social security numbers to driver's license to passports. Some people say, well, what are they going to do with my driver's license? Well, I'm going to give you an example of a lady here in Houston. Well, a card was stolen here in Houston, her driver's license. It was sold here at Trader's Village for $35, I believe it was. Stole a driver's license. Well, the person who bought the driver's license was a drug addict and went to a local hospital and had a baby. Left the baby there at the hospital and took off. What happens next? The real owner of that driver's license is contacted. She's got 3 or 4 kids already, and she's told, lady, it is a criminal act to leave a baby at the hospital, particularly one that is addicted to drugs. Well, it wasn't that lady. She says, I haven't had a child in the last 6 years. Here's my 6-year-old, and I've got 19-year-olds. So they used her identity to get into the hospital, and then the person left the baby there, a crackhead baby, and somebody else was identified. Police knocked on the door, handcuffed the lady, and said they were going to take her kids to Child Protective Services. So when you think about, well, what is at risk with my driver's license or your passport? So, and we've got it everywhere. If you got school records, if you're in the military, if you've ever applied for a credit card, Equifax, a company that checks your credit score, was hacked not too long ago. But cities, states, municipalities are now being hacked. And guess what they're doing? They're holding their records. They said, we're not going to let you use your computers at the police station unless we get, a couple $100,000. So cities have to negotiate with it. So these are cities that cities and government offices that supposedly have lots of security. So I asked you as a company owner, what do you have? What's in your office? Not in your wallet, in your office. What's on your laptop? There's something called phishing. It's when you get an email, and once a person's email is detected, they can copy that email to make it look like, let's say I get a message from my boss, and it looks like her name, first name, last name. Almost the company name is the same, but there are 2 little initials after it. It may be, and usually those 2 little initials are the country of origin. So many foreign companies are hacking in. And what happens is when you open that email, your computer is now infected and you are going to be held ransom. Actually, I got an email the other day saying, I know your password is ... And guess what? It was right. And what they told me was that they had video of me doing things that I probably not want shared with the public. Well, I know what I do in front of the camera, so I know that they don't have any videos of me doing something obscene, which is what they were suggesting. They said, well, how would you like all of your friends to see what you were doing? And they were very specific what they said I was doing. Well, it wasn't me, but they had my password. Now, my first thing was I went and I changed every password. Actually, something companies should do very often for all of their employees is mandate frequent password changes. That's one way to avoid that. And I'm talking, and if you're a, let's say a Windows user, you can go on and you can look at all of your own passwords. Passwords for things you have forgotten that you signed up for. But maybe you went to the doctor's office or you bought something. Believe me, when I went to mine, after I saw that, I said, I want to see where all of my passwords are to see which ones I needed to change, because that's the one that had been detected. So I went in there and there were some pages on there that I said, when did I sign up for this? So you might want to frequently check all of your passwords, and you can do it on your computer. I'm not too sure about Mac users, but I think they would have it. Apple is very good at security. But it's so easy to get into your company. And guess who in our households are making it even easier? Believe it or not, it's your children. I know I got a call from my granddaughter who is 3 this morning. She wanted to FaceTime. Well, it actually was to my wife. So I'm an Android user. So she called him, but she knows how to work at FaceTime and everything. She's 3, but she's also on daddy's phone. If daddy were to get an email like that and and it looked like it's coming from Pete Garcia, she's, oh, grandpa's, sending something. And she clicks on it, boom, his phone could be hacked. And, it costs a lot when you get hacked. So there's Lookout on an app on your phone. Most of the people do have malware on their computer, but they forget about the phone. Lookout, download the Lookout app, and that will help protect your phone. But be careful of smishing, which is now not only they're sending emails, but they're sending texts, and they're saying click here. Well, don't fall for it unless you know who it is. And be careful. Some things look very real. I mean, how many of you have received an email from your bank? Chase. It should be chase.com, but there'll be something in there. It'll be chase dot org or dot something, and then end it with 2 letters. Well, that's not really Chase. It looks real. It's their logo. They've got your name. So when they say, oh, you need to verify your account, no. If you need to get something like that, Chase will normally mail it to your home. They don't go in there and ask you for your password or your credit card number. So there are just so many ways. And, it used to be the most vulnerable were senior citizens that they didn't get many emails. And when they got one, they were just tickled to death and eager to open it. But now it's not just senior citizens. It's small businesses and medium-sized businesses that need protection. Usually what will happen when your computer or your phone are hacked is you'll have to hire somebody to help you. Yeah, you can call all of your credit cards, and there's several programs out there. And there's one called Identity Theft, and that's the one I wanted to talk to you about today. Identity theft is a system. It's an app actually on your phone, an app that will detect not only credit card fraud, but it will detect email fraud. It will detect any kind of fraud that comes through your phone. It's backed by the largest private investigation company in the United States. And one of the key differences with identity theft versus it's backed by those of several other companies that protect you is that they will not stop the investigation until your identity is clear and free. Some of them will report and say, hey, you've got a problem. All they do is glad to know. Now, how am I going to fix it? Well, identity theft will help you fix it. And they'll also cover up to $1 million if your credit cards are stolen. So it's a great system, and it costs less than $10 a month to have per person. Now, you're going to want to get probably one for your company. And through today, through our program, we're offering small business discounts. The best way to get it is through my website, and that's PeteCGarcia.wearelegalshield.com. PeteCGarcia. Not at, wearelegalshield.com. Now, Legal Shield offers two different programs. One is Identity Theft Shield, and the other one is Legal Shield, because usually you're going to need a lawyer to help clear a lot of things. But Legal Shield is more than helping identity theft work. You can also have Legal Shield review your contract for your company, and you sign a contract for everything, for your phone, for your computer, for your building, for your AC, for your internet. You've got so many contracts up there, but you need a legal team to help you keep track of expiration dates, particularly with other companies. If you're a vendor and you signed a contract and you're supposed to deliver your product by a certain date, and if it's not delivered there, or if the contract is not renewed by a certain time, you may risk losing that contract. What Legal Shield is they're a group of over 400 attorneys nationwide in Canada and the UK. And all you have to do is go to your Legal Shield app, and it will help you get your business legal work taken care of. Contracts, how many of you have a will? If you have a partner in your company, you want to make sure that you have a will. I've seen so many businesses with partners, something happens to one partner, and guess what? The wife of the other partner doesn't want that business or wants the business off her own. So you want to have a will and an agreement with your with partners. Very, very important. So Legal Shield does that. And it does simple things too, like handling your traffic tickets for you. You go on to the app, you take a picture of the ticket and the court date, you send that in. Well, you just do it on your app. You just take a picture. Go to traffic ticket. It says, give me a picture of it and give me the date of the court date. And you can forget about it. That's all covered for about less than $30 a month for your family. Now, you can offer it to your employees, and if you're offering it to your employees, which helps protect you and your company, at a discount. So we have a company that is 10 employees or less can sign up for it. You can offer it to your employees. You can pay for it if you like, or you can just have them sign up at the corporate discount. Now, why would a company want to have a legal service for their employees that costs $30 a month? Well, there's something that's called presenteeism. When your employees are concerned about a bankruptcy proceeding, about a divorce proceeding, about child custody proceeding, about a lawsuit brought on by somebody, they may be at work, they're present, but their mind is somewhere else. So what it does is it brings a little bit of peace of mind when you have 400 attorneys in your back pocket. Well, literally on your phone, actually. Some of the major companies, I just signed up a couple up in New York just the other day, and when they called the company, they said, "Oh, I know that company. They're over in Long Island." That's the way they say it up in New York, Long Island. But they said they recognized the company and they were impressed. They called them. They asked me to be on the call with them. I did because they were a family member, and because I don't get involved with most legal issues with people that sign up. I can refer them. And even if they don't sign up today, if a corporation shares this information, we can do it just like this via Zoom with your employees. We can record it and they can have it there. You can show it to them or they can see it at their leisure and decide whether they want to sign up or not. But it's so important today to have legal protection, which goes right hand in hand with protecting your company from cyber attacks and so forth. So it's important. Most people tend not to take it. They know that it's out there, but are they doing anything about it to protect themselves? Most of them don't know where to start. So start with Identity Shield and with Legal Shield and have a peace of mind that you're protected. You can be protected against cyber attacks. Because today it's not a matter of if you're going to get attacked, it's a matter of how many times you're going to get attacked. So, our idea is, to be able to detect it, to defer it, and to defend your companies and your employees, as well as your families. There are family plans as well. And the family plans cover up to 10 people in the family. Anyone that's below the age of 26 living at home, or if they're over 26, but there are other issues, like a physical challenge or something, then they can also be considered part of that. So if they're living in your home, family members, they can also be covered up to 10. So I highly recommend that you protect yourself, your family, and your employees. And you can do that by going to my website at petecgarcia.wearelegalshield.com. Well, I hope I've been able to bring some value to your company in terms of protecting yourself and your company and your employees from cyber attacks. It's happening every day and it's accelerating. And in case you didn't know, the FBI says this is the #1 white-collar crime today. It is more financially beneficial than dealing drugs. Why? Because once the drugs are sold, they're gone. But once I've got your identity, I can sell that thing over and over and over again. Once I have your email address, I can fish all day long. Once I get access to your corporate directory and I can get all the names of your employees, I can fish all day long and I can sell it to anybody else that I want to. It's that easy on the dark web. So protect yourself. Tyler, I hope you've learned something. Are you protected? Let me ask that.
So actually, I'm really glad that you did. I am, and it's been part of the struggle of doing these Zoom calls is that I do use a VPN service, and I like the service that I use because for one subscription fee, I get 5 devices protected. So my wife's cell phone, my wife's computer, my computer, and what you pointed out, my daughter's tablet. Because I am a small business and I need to be worried about my network. And we were actually reminded of our network because, again, with an increased usage of our internet, I noticed that my speed had gone way down and I'm paying for a very dedicated line and I wasn't getting the speed. And they asked me to turn off all the devices on the house so that they could diagnose the problem. So turned off both the cell phones, turned off both computers, turned off the tablet, and they said, you still have 8 devices running because we have a wired smart home. I had a doorbell. Right. I had 4 smoke detectors, plus my fridge right now is a smart fridge and my stove. So I was like, I don't even know how to disconnect these devices from my network, and then realized that for all of the effort that I had been putting through, I still didn't have all my devices protected. So it's a really good reminder that you brought forward about how connected we are and all the different entry points that people can get to our personal networks, never mind our businesses. And I was reading, I'm glad that you brought up the cyber attacks into businesses. I was reading one that happened in my local area, small business, under 10 employees, and they were ransomwared for the original request was $450,000, and they ended up settling at $250,000. This is a small business. That, if you are turning $2 to $5 million a year in revenue, you're probably making 500,000 in profit. That represented in a good scenario, a half a year, more likely probably a year, 2 or 3 of their profit, just to be able to get their equipment back so that they could serve their contracts to their customers. So I like that you pointed out there is a legal ramification behind all that as well.
Yeah, you don't realize all of the devices that you have connected, even the remote control on your garage door, the Ring bell. I think there was an issue here in Houston not too long ago where they had installed a Ring bell, and somebody had connected and they were watching the daughters in their bedroom. And the parents were like, holy moly. Well, the company said, well, you didn't do the double check on security. There's a way to do it. But unless you're reading all of the small print, you probably would not even notice it. But no, there's a way that you can protect yourself. So when you're installing new equipment, new electronic equipment, anything that's Bluetooth or even wired, but Bluetooth, Echo. My son, loaded up my Echo, and the other day I hear his wife talking to his daughter, and I'm like, holy, what did I say? Maybe I said something about them and they heard what I was saying. But they can actually call, it's actually loaded in my wife's in the kitchen, and they call it's Mimi's Kitchen. So they just say, call Mimi's Kitchen, and there they are on Echo on the phone. It's the granddaughter does it. So it's not if a granddaughter can do it, anybody can do it. But these are all entry points. Like I mentioned with Target, they came in through the air conditioning. People say, well, how could they get in? Well, it's connected to a computer.
Yeah,
we're all vulnerable.
Yeah, they're those unprotected or ungated, unguarded entry points into our network, and a lot of people, and myself included, forget that until you have somebody come through. Luckily for me, it was a service tech who was able to get into my network, and my network is more than most small businesses fairly secure, thanks to a great in part due to some great advice I've received from you. But that unto itself, that I never thought of my fridge. Like I wouldn't have thought of my fridge. Mm-hmm. And I like that you brought up the point about legal protection too on some of when you are in partnership. I know I learned a very heavy lesson almost a decade ago now with one of my first companies that I started, in that my business partner passed away suddenly, and we didn't have the right director's insurance in place, so that when our partnership ended to no fault of my own, I wasn't able to get the company fully into my name because I couldn't get a signatory off of a deceased partner. And it created a real legal nightmare for me that I didn't have the resources in place that I should have in order for me to save my company. And I had to end up walking away from that venture. So there are the two sides to that coin, and I really appreciate you bringing them to light.
Yeah. And the issue here is that, there are great lawyers out there, great lawyers. They're so great that they're extremely busy. Sometimes when you go to call your lawyer, you may get a call back. I know I've had a couple of cases with injuries and so forth, and to get them to call you back sometimes takes days. The good thing about Legal Shield, they call you back within 4 hours. Within 4 hours. And you're talking right to an attorney, just like you would to an attorney here. But for example, in Texas, we have it's a Texas firm that handles all of Texas. So each state, sometimes there are multiple states, but they're usually somebody that's local within your area, even though you call an 800 number, or well, actually, you can call an 800 number, or you can push the app on your phone just saying, I need to talk to a lawyer. Actually, there's a little button on there that's for emergencies. Let's say you're in an accident and there's a dispute between you and the other driver as to whose fault it is. You can go on and hit the emergency button, and you will be connected immediately to an attorney. So if there's a debate and the policemen are there, all you have to do is the lawyer's going to say, let me talk to the officer on this case. And they take it from there. How great is that? I mean, when would you have time to call your lawyer and then get them to take your call right then and say, hey, I've got a problem here. This policeman is saying that it was my fault. And when they ask the questions, usually it's handled right then. So that little red button on your phone on Legal Shield is also a great little tool to have. In addition to reviewing contracts, and they actually take care of that $30 a month covers everything. Tickets up to, I think, 15 documents a month. And there's a different package for companies that are a little bit larger than 10. I recommend getting the larger package because there's one little clause in there, and that is that if your employees sign up, your employees can't use your legal firm to sue you. So that's a good little thing to have in there, is that they're going to have to go out and get a different attorney, even if they signed up for Legal Shield. Legal Shield will not let another Legal Shield member sue the owner of the company. So it's a good little package. That one costs a little bit more, but I have all of those are on Pete C. Garcia at LegalShield.com. You have small businesses, the different packages, as well as ID and Legal Shield, ID theft and Legal Shield. So if you need protection, if you want protection, I highly recommend getting. You just heard some examples from Tyler today, and I shared some with you of my personal and others that I've heard. But like I said earlier, it's not a matter of if you're going to get hacked or if you're going to get sued by somebody. It's a matter of how many times in these days. We have a lot of attorneys. I think the United States has more attorneys per capita than any other country in the world. We're very sue happy here in the United States. And there are a lot of laws that we don't always know about. So that's why you need a professional when it comes to legal help. And Legal Shield are professional. Company's been in business for over 40 years. So I highly recommend it, not only because I'm a member of Legal Shield, but I've seen the benefits to a lot of families who need it. I got a call just yesterday, Monday. A tree from the neighbor had fallen onto his house. Yes, the neighbor, was saying that it was his fault, and he was saying, no, it's your tree, it fell on my house. And the neighbor said, well, I'm not paying for anything. So he asked me, he said, will Legal Shield, do something? I said, contact them. They probably will. And he called me back a few days later. He said, yes, they did. They are going to write a letter. So they said, don't even talk to your neighbor about this issue. Let us take it from here. So they're going to write the letter letting them know what the law is. They're probably going to have to pay for the tree removal and the house repair. But I know another one last week that called me. He said Houston repaired a water line. It was at the meter, but it was on the city side of the meter. So they're responsible for that part. If it breaks on your side of the meter, then you're responsible for it normally. Well, they went and they fixed their part, but during fixing their part, they broke his side of the meter. So then they said, well, he said, can I call Legal Shield? I said, absolutely. He said, if there was not a leak on your side before their repair on their side, that means they probably moved something around, probably broke your pipe. So yes, Legal Shield needs to be involved. And what they will do is they'll contact the city on your behalf and say, you know what, there was no damage on the property owner's side. So, you're going to have to pay for that one as well. Dealing with the city sometimes can be very challenging, but guess what? If you've got a lawyer in your back pocket or on your phone, you're protected. So there are just so many instances when you may not think you need a lawyer, and you probably don't every day or every month, but you're going to need one, or a family member might need one. So don't forget, you can sign up the whole family as well. How many of your teenagers get speeding tickets? Well, take a picture of the speeding ticket and you send it right into Legal Shield, right on the app. It's that easy, and you forget about it. It's taken care of. So there are just so many issues around us today. We live in a community where there's tremendous number of laws out there that we just don't understand, and definitely can't argue them. So get a professional. Usually lawyers charge about $150 to $200 per hour. And then every minute over that may go into 2 hours. So it's not inexpensive to deal with attorneys. There are great attorneys out there. We have some of the best at LegalShield.com. So hope that you've enjoyed the presentation. And Kyle, I really appreciate you giving us the time to be able to talk to some of the best small businesses around that need as much help as they can get, especially during these trying times.
Well, and Pete, it's my joy and my pleasure to have you on. And just for everybody who's watching, we are going to post up all of Pete's contact information in the resources page. So be sure to check that out if you're interested in what he was talking about. I know I'm very familiar with Legal Shield, so it comes with my stamp of approval as well. And Pete, thank you so much for joining us on the Strategic Small Business Education virtual event. I know I took a lot out of it. And as I said at the beginning, it's always a joy and a pleasure when I get to be on stage with you, whether virtually or